76's Monster Mash!
Hellraiser. The movie starts off with this guy named Frank, and he's buying this weird, mysterious puzzle box. After he purchases the box from this creepy, weird salesman guy, he goes back home to try to solve it. Frank opens the box. All of a sudden, a bunch of chains with hooks come out and dig into his flesh, literally ripping his flesh apart. Then, Pinhead, played by the one and only Doug Bradley, steps into the room to close the box once again. So let me explain to you who Pinhead is for those of you who don't know. He's the leader of this demon crew called the Cenobites, and they're pretty much summoned every time somebody opens the box. We meet Larry and Julia, and they're moving into a new home, and Frank, from the beginning of the film, is Larry's brother. Larry also has a daughter named Kirsty, and he tries to convince her to move in, but she's just not down for it. She's not trying to live with her dad again. So apparently Julia had an affair with Larry's brother Frank, literally days before they got married. Being back at this house, she's already starting to have flashbacks about being with him, basically starting to remember Frank. Larry's trying to help these moving men move a mattress up some stairs, and there's like a rusty nail sticking out the side of the railing. It literally slices Larry's hand open. Larry's bleeding all over the floor. The blood seeps into the cracks of the wood, into the floor, and we see a shot of Frank's heart starting to beat. So basically the blood is bringing Frank back to life. One night, Julia goes up into the Frank death room. She basically discovers his gruesome, slimy ass, and he convinces her to help him get more blood for him so he can become whole again. She basically brings him all these random guys back to the house. With each victim, he's becoming more and more human. Frank, almost fully regenerated now, shows Julia the demonic box, and then tells Julia about his run-in with the Cenobites and shit. In order not to go back to hell, he must become human again. Kirsty one day sees Julia bringing one of the strange men home, so now she's on to Julia's shit. Kirsty goes into the house and finally discovers Uncle Frank. She pretty much kicks his ass and then finds the box on the floor, and in a desperate act to escape, she throws it out of the window and barely escapes the clutches of Frank. Suddenly, we cut to a scene where she's in a hospital now. The doctor comes in and he puts the creepy-ass, demonic-ass box on the table in front of her, so she's basically left alone with the box. For some reason, she foolishly opens the box up, and all of a sudden the walls open and it reveals this endless hallway, and she starts walking down the hallway, and when she gets to a certain point, she sees this giant thing in the middle of the hallway, and from out of the shadows comes this giant scorpion monster thing that's holding on to the walls. The monster basically pretty much chases Kirsty down the hallway until she barely escapes. Very intense, epic chase scene for sure. Kirsty then meets Pinhead and his crew of demons, and she makes him an offer, a deal, so to speak, that if she brings Frank to him, then they will take him instead of her. She runs back home to warn her father of what's been going on. It's too late. Frank has already killed her dad and took his skin, so now he's human again. Kirsty realizes that it's Frank and not her dad. Julia is holding Kirsty, and whenever Dad/Frank lunges towards her with the knife to stab Kirsty, Kirsty moves out of the way, running away. he ends up actually stabbing Julia and killing her instead. Pinhead ends up catching up to Frank. Then a bunch of chains come out of nowhere again with the hooks and impale Frank. Then he's basically ripped apart. Kirsty then gets a hold of the box once again and sends the Cenobites back to hell. After one final face-off against that giant scorpion demon thing, closing the box and sending his animatronic ass back to hell once and for all. So we come to the end of the movie with Kirsty and her boyfriend barely escaping the house, and they're standing outside, and there's a bunch of fire everywhere. In her last attempt to get rid of the box, she tosses it into some fire. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, this giant demon dragon skeleton thing appears and literally takes the box and flies off into the night. It was really fucking crazy. Really great movie. Awesome special effects. The music, the actors, the actresses, everything about it. It's great. So what else can I say? Clive Barker's 1987 horror classic Hellraiser. Check it out, folks. It's a hell of a good time. I'll see you guys on the next episode of Monster Mash.